water rushes away. There's so much that she can't say, so the words pour out like blood from her face. Another letter wrote in vain again, bottled up and washed up on the sand. Another letter wrote in vain again, keeps her alive inside. She don't even Another letter wrote in vain again, bottled up and washed up on the sand. Another letter wrote in vain again, keeps her alive inside. Another letter wrote in vain again, bottled up and washed up on the sand. Another letter wrote in vain again, keeps her alive inside. Alive inside, keeps her alive.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Rock Pile Report podcast. I'm your host, Bill season ticket holder Drew Gear. My producer is Chris Kruger. Sitting next to me is Mr. Nabe Geary, which I feel like every time you come in here for a draft show, Nate, I cut loose. You have this.
Just when I'm here?
All right.
I watched the show, guys. Like, yeah, it's not just when I'm here, but I appreciate it.
Something happens where you get here, and I don't know if it's because I'm frustrated or just because I'm having fun, maybe both. I get, like, remember when I couldn't pronounce Osiris Torrance, and I called him by the wrong name?
Oh, Torrance Cyrus.
Torrance Cyrus, yeah.
It was, and you made a joke about it later in that same
Oh,
podcast.
Torrance Cyrus. I remember.
Guys, the NFL draft, like, the lead up to this thing it's a lot of fun, it's great, but also it's kind of a slog. Can we agree on that? Chris, you produce this stuff. It's kind of a slog.
You know what
isn't it?
I'm shocked?
You have to watch this shit every day,
Yeah.
Chris. You know,
You know what
do
I'm
think?
shocked about? Nate, you have not been in here since I built that with my two hands, no help from Drew.
Well,
and
his
there's
hands-
bourbon on the shelf. And Nate, look at the bottom shelf. The people watching this can't see it. You see all the glassware on the bottom? Different types of glass.
Yeah.
You come in here, you grab the correct glass right off the bat. Drew just...
It's because I'm not a knuckle
Yes.
dragger. No, literally, he's a knuckle. His arms are insanely long.
My nickname used to be McGillo when I was growing
yeah,
up.
well,
They used to, my cousins used to make fun of me and say things like, oh, you got to wash your hands before dinner because they've been dragging on the ground. And then they'd run away. And I couldn't catch them because guys, I don't know if you know this about me. Like,
a lot of drag.
It's draft season. So we're talking about like intangibles and skill sets and physical attributes.
Your arm length
Do you know
dominates your RAS score.
Do you know that I'm so flat-footed that when I walk on a tile floor, it makes suction cup noises?
no, I'm pretty sure that's just athlete's foot.
It's me trying to do anything football related is comical. And that's why it seems weird to sit
I
back
still got
here.
it a little. Not in the football.
Okay,
Not in the football field.
I'm so happy you brought it up. Let's talk about this. Nate Geary, former D3 quarterback extraordinaire. We just got done recording a podcast with Mark Schofield where we looked at wide receivers, and we also poked a lot of fun at the concept of, just D3 quarterback. And you guys both have illustrious careers and kind of like
Agreed.
I don't know if illustrious. Well, what's that term? Infamous starts. I think you guys made some pretty egregious mistakes when you were allowed to be under center.
Yeah.
Did you have a good cadence?
Oh, not a Gruden level cadence, like hot, not where it's like one syllable, or no, one word, two syllables, hot. But no, I had a good.
This is a question that I guess I've always had. When you're playing D3 level football, you're still in it. It's still football. There's still contact. There's a lot of things going on. And so
Ask Ali Marpet how Division III football is, pal.
Yes.
We played him in a scrimmage. It was a bloodbath.
I would say
he tore a kid's ACL on our.
Oh my God!
Just by overpowering him.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Was there ever a moment where you came up against another athlete as a, D3 quarterback / snap holder on field goals? You saw another athlete who you looked at and you were like, "Oh, I can't fuck with that."
No. Funny story. So. Let me see while I'm telling the story. I'll see if I can find the photo. So my freshman year, I played in the JV squad for a couple of games. So the JV squad, we would play community colleges, so on and so forth. We played Alfred State, which is a community college, not Alfred U, Alfred State.
Yeah.
And Alfred State was
my dad went there.
number one in the Northeast for community colleges. Like they ended up winning like whatever the community college thing is. So I remember, we're warming up and these kids are coming off the bus at Buff State, walking onto the field. And there's two kids that are like 6'5". The one kid was like 6'5", 225. So he was kind of smaller. The other kid was like 6'4", 290. And I'm like, these are, and I'm freshman year, I am 6 feet, 172 pounds, soaking wet. So, first play of the game, me and the other quarterback, we were going to be taking off series on and off. He started the game. First play, breaks his neck. Broke his goddamn neck. So then I had to play the rest of the game.
God.
I had to play. Can you zoom in if I show you this picture?
Yeah, show your single, the white camera there.
This guy,
the white camera.
White camera. This is me. Being hit. Do you see the picture? Do you see the picture?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you see the picture? This is me being absolutely depleted. And it's by this kid who then, after this, went on to play in the SEC for Vanderbilt. So, yes, long story short, I do know what it's like to go up against someone who I don't belong in the same field as. And my poor left tackle, who, never saw actual varsity level, playing time, did one of those Olays. And I think you even see it in the picture. You do. Like, just like, yeah, sorry, bro. Like,
hold it up, so people can see that the left tackle is just out of frame, going, "Oops, my bad. Oh, sorry about that." It's just hilarious.
It's just this poor guy turning around and like, I think they I forget my coaches used to call it. It was like oh shit or something. Like you're supposed to yell, "Oh shit." Like if you get beat like that as bad as that guy did. But yeah, nothing. Listen, say what you will about me, and I've always maintained this. I might not win a fight, but I won't lose it because you can punch me in the face a lot, and I just eat them. Like that hit, I used to take my senior year quarterback, new coach, right? New quarterback's coach. First game of the year, I got hit relentlessly, play after play after play. My good friend was on Williamsville North, the team that played us. He goes, the coach told that kid, who was a little slow, your only job this game is to hit the quarterback every single play on the option. Every single play. After the game, my coach goes, you're a lot tougher than I thought you would be. And I was like, yeah, I could take a hit.
You Homer Simpson.
I could just punch me in the face. It'll maybe now, maybe I can't take it like I used to, but like I could suck a punch.
Hey, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I've eaten my fair share, mostly under the pretense of someone's like, "I'm gonna knock your teeth out." Do me the favor. All right? Let's save the money. I'll get a bridge. Ass.
A bridge.
I'll put a bridge
You need
in
more
here
than a bridge, brother.
I'll be in here like a hockey
reconstruction.
Yeah. You need some Rich Voss teeth.
Yeah.
I think
giant veneers.
They couldn't even do veneers for him because they wouldn't be able to cap the back teeth.
So to start the show, there's a comment in the chat from Terry White about, "I miss the good old days of Drew pretending he was a draft guru." Guys, tonight we're here talking about terrible ideas, just terrible draft concepts. And I've been full of them. I am a bad idea factory when it comes to the NFL draft.
Ironically, they're thought of as good ideas.
Well, this is the thing, right?
Yeah.
You talk yourself, like, Chris, the audio that you have from years ago where I said literally if we drafted Josh Allen, I would.
Oh, and I got it.
He's got
If
it.
the Bills draft Josh Allen, I would grab a beer for each hand and launch myself backwards down the nearest flight of stairs.
Your NFL MVP, folks, your reigning NFL MVP quarterback. I was apoplectic. So
Didn't you end up falling down your own stairs at your split level that you used to have?
no, well, yes, but not that night. What ended up happening with that was after the Tennessee Titans game where the Bills won, a game where we had to kick 5 or 6 field goals to win the game, I declared that Josh Allen was not the answer for the Buffalo Bills. And remember when we used to do the driveway press conferences with the lights and the podium and the backdrop?
Podium.
I fell off the podium after my rant about how Josh Allen was overrated and permanently chipped my left elbow. So now if I bump it too hard on anything, it just starts to swell.
what was the Baker Mayfield bet?
The Baker Mayfield bet was that he was going to, I don't know, Chris.
You said you drink a 6-pack of Seagrams.
If what though?
You had to be top 2. Your bet was he'll finish top 2 in MVP voting, and I'll put a 6-pack on it.
Like over the course of his career, right? Like
No.
this is it's not.
No, this was like year 2.
I like that you still. I'm looking down on the board. He still has this written down on the board.
We're petty. We are the pettiest. We may not have the biggest platform, but we are the pettiest sons of bitches in Bill's podcasting. So with that in mind, I have had a lot of...
There's the board.
Drew OBJ signs by week 17. That was a
AJ
miss.
Klein makes the 53.
Yeah, a lot of... I don't know what was the one on the bottom there. The 10 defensive line DNs. I don't know what
I
year
did win
that
the
was
Cook.
from.
I won the Cook one, didn't I?
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't know.
did. Yeah.
You did win the cook bet.
Somebody did break a beer bong. Sorry, Lauren.
I like Hugo Carmona. Is there a Ryan Mallett soundbite? Guys, I want to walk you through just my graveyard of terrible fucking draft opinions. This is where I thought I knew things. Chris, if you want to go ahead and give me my single. I was the guy who decided that it was a travesty for the Buffalo Bills to have traded back to where they traded and drafted Trey White because they could have had Reuben Foster out of Alabama, the linebacker, if you remember.
with the Alabama guys.
So if you remember, I'm old enough to remember a day where I did declare that Ryan Mallett was going to change the face of quarterbacking in the NFL. I firmly believed that the
literal kiss of death.
It's me. I'm the mush. I'm the mush from A Bronx Tale where if I like a player, like Brett Coleman has this thing where if he tweets something nice about you or talks about you on a podcast of his, you're going to die soon. Like you're going to get dysentery and pass away like the Oregon Trail. I'm the same way with the NFL draft. I have a lot of terrible ideas. Chris, just a couple last year, Nate, we were doing a live stream for day 2 with #sports. And we kind of went around the table and said, hey, what's the one thing you don't want to see happen here for the Buffalo Bills? And literally out of my mouth, I said, Keon Coleman is the worst concept for the Buffalo Bills. And then 5 minutes later, they were calling his name and he was on TV and I had to bury my head in my fucking keyboard. Look at this. Teddy, see, like people are guys, anybody who's here in the chat, I want to hear what's your worst draft opinion? Like, what's your coldest draft take? Because I've got a lot. I'm out here airing my dirty laundry. What do you have? You don't have any.
I don't have any.
I'd say, Teddy, you can peep at Ski from hashtag on that AJ McCarron comment.
Yep.
Ski was huge on AJ McCarron as a Bill. That failed.
It really, I like this Hugo Carmona, that left tackle is doing the Toreador technique. Ole. You caught the Ole block. I'm just catching up here with the comments. So guys, your worst draft opinions, I want to hear them, but I've had a lot of them over the years and I've sat here and I've celebrated my wins like most people who are assholes and like that kind of thing do.
I'm humble. I don't like to celebrate my wins.
Yeah, you're humble.
Drew, you didn't like Milano. You didn't like Bernard.
I hated the Milano pick.
Anyone that's good, just assume
I
he
thought the
doesn't like
Bernard pick was hat on a hat. I literally said
it.
that.
Loved Marcel Darius. Loved him.
Until he became a fucking boat captain. Like, I didn't, like, everything that I love about the NFL draft eventually turns to shit. And so the idea is,
D'Amato in the comments right with you with the Rosen.
I wanted Josh Rosen. There are a lot of terrible ideas out here floating around in the ether. And so at a time when everybody in content creation is filling up the airwaves talking about how, you know, all of the things of smarmy ideas, and I'm going to have a hot take that someday might pan out. And if it doesn't, I can just say, well, it was a long shot anyway, and it doesn't matter. You know, Brandon Beane's smart if he, you know, insert cornerback name here. Drafting obscure wide receiver number 86
Isaiah Hodgins
is a must for Buffalo because he's everybody else's wide receiver number 10, but he's my wide receiver number 6. Like, I can't take this stuff. I can't do it. I can't sit here anymore after a decade of doing this podcast and pretend that I know what the fuck I'm talking about. It's why I lean on smart people and entertaining people to help get us through this.
Thank you for mentioning entertaining, because I don't know shit either. I'm wrong so much.
So this is why I like having you in for this kind of an exercise. This is a
Not
mix
afraid
of
to be wrong.
therapy and public service where we're going to talk about all of the shitty ideas, or at least what we think might be bad ideas, considering we are kings of terrible ideas.
Yeah, terrible ideas and Nate's drinking terrible beer.
Oh, it's the first one of the year. It tastes like
It's not even real beer.
it's just so fucking good.
I mean, I am the owner of an impressive amount of suck when it comes to the NFL draft. So with that said, I want to talk about some other ideas that might suck this year because I feel like maybe if I pivot, I might actually sound smarter than I really am. Let's start. We're talking about ideas that might be the worst things the Bills could do in 2025. I'll open the floor with this. I don't even care about, because people are talking about Shamar Stewart. There's a product, you know, this weekend we're going to do an NFL kind of a draft preview show with Anthony Prohaska from over at Cover One. And we're going to talk about the defensive line. And Shamar Stewart's going to be a guy that I really want to get his opinion on because he watches a lot of film. He understands the X's and O's a lot better than I do. But it doesn't take a genius to watch a guy. You know, it's the thing of, if he's a good pass rusher, why doesn't he have any good pass rushing statistics? Why doesn't this exist? And everyone says, well, freak athlete. I already understand that's what everyone's going to say about him. And there will be fans when he inevitably, because this is what I love about the disconnect between us and GMs. And you're seeing it now year over year. It's getting more volatile. And this year it might be the craziest. Nate, when you look at this draft, is this a draft where things are kind of volatile in terms of where players might get taken? It would be hard to handicap if you're Vegas in terms of the odds certain players will be picked at certain spots, right?
I think volatile is a way to describe it. I might describe it as very boring.
Sure, because you've got a bunch of middling talents. There's no stars.
I think it's even more so like, usually every year you've got a pick or two where you're like, that guy? I don't know that you're going to get that this year. Like, I think about, Ricky Pearsall, and I did not see a lot of people have him in the first round. A lot of people viewed him as the slot guy, like the top slot guy in the draft. And where does that get you in the NFL these days? For him to be the number 4 receiver, number 3 receiver taken, San Francisco in the first round, like, I was like, wow. Would anybody be surprised if somebody's number 4 receiver, who Luther Burden, like if he gets picked in the first round as the number 3 wide receiver, is anyone going to be like, that guy? No. Like, the same can be said. It's like, oh man, Omari and Hampton. In other years, you'd say 2 running backs in the first round. All right, well, he better be Jahmyr Gibbs. So yeah, like, I think maybe it's more so boring than volatile, because I just don't know that there's going to be any player you look at this year and say, wow, I cannot believe they reached for that guy. Because, I mean, any other year, Shedeur Sanders, it's not a first-round pick. He could go 9th. He could go 39th. It's such a fucking crazy year, and it's even harder. So, like, I'll give you a little background into, like, what's it like for somebody that covers the Bills and then, has to, I'm going to do a combined like 12 hours of draft coverage, 16 hours of draft coverage, right? And I'll tell you that the season ends, I usually need a decompression, because they always lose, right? So I need to decompress for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks sometimes, right? And then I kind of hop back in. And it becomes very clear the top 40, the top 50 prospects. And that's where you really try to hone in on. And then you lean on those, other 150 or so to more so like the Dane Bruglers of the world. These guys where I'm going to have a draft guide and I'm going to really be leaning on, hey, what are the traits of these players? Oh, I remember that guy. They played Notre Dame in week 5. Oh, Stanford.
Can I say this? Shoot me in the face. Trying to write a draft guide like that. I tried to write a handful of write-ups about draft prospects, not even like in-depth, just, hey, here's some pros and cons. And I wanted to die.
Well,
It's on Buffalo Rumblings.
Yeah,
No,
he
it
doesn't
was-
have the type of autism required. Because I'm going to tell you, like I used to handwrite full draft guides when I was a kid. So
In Cran?
no, it was in me and my cousin Jake. We used to spend a lot of time just making draft guides where we would recycle ideas that other people have already wrote it for ourselves. But we would do that, and we would have 220 prospects, and we would spend 2-3 weeks in his basement not leaving. And just, literally handwriting each page. Okay, this page is done. Boom. And then we'd make a whole pamphlet. So you gotta have that color autism to be able to do that. But I would tell you that, for me, these drafts have become more difficult to fully prepare for because, I mean, frankly, where the Bills draft, it's hard to really, you feel like you're wasting the first month of your preparation on guys the Bills have no chance at getting.
Yes.
So but at the same time, I am on air the entire time of the first round. I can't just start at prospect 25 and then figure it out the rest, because then I've got to spend the entire 4.5 hours before the Bills pick talking about everybody that gets selected. And unfortunately, Benjamin Albright's in my feed, so I get tipped the picks every time, and then I get to get yelled at about not tipping picks live on air. But
That was hilarious. I'm not going to lie to you. That was really funny.
Derek Kramer hates when I tip picks. Like, he hates it. The producers hate when I tip picks. But like, what else do we have? So like, really, this time, like right now, this is like me. I'm cramming.
Yep.
The
Let me ask you this.
remainder.
Were you on air for the Trey White draft where we traded back from 10 to 27?
See, this is what
I was on Saturday. I was on the day 3 portion of that. Murph and Chris Brown were doing the first and second round. That was the last year they did it. No, the last year they did. Wait,
Teddy Brandana. I thought Rashard Wildgoose was going to be. I wanted Rashard Wildgoose to be good so fucking badly. And
see, Terry said it. Nate ? Smart ? Yeah, right. Terry, I never claimed it, and I'm pretty sure he didn't insinuate it.
Rashad Wildgoose was a guy that I was so happy because I asked Mark Schofield during our COVID wide receiver preview, where it was literally during COVID. I couldn't be here. And I did it from the garage. I did it from my garage while Chris kind of mediated it from home, and we did it on Zoom. You know what else is funny? You gave me COVID. You're the one who gave me COVID. Let's rap about it. Guys, I don't know if you know this. We were doing the whole thing of everyone else was social distancing, and we, like assholes, we were like, nah, it's not going to be me. It can't get me that way. And then
Can't do that when I'm testing the 116 proof.
And I remember the day that we're here in Chris's kitchen in defiance of the social distancing policy.
You remember where you went to earlier tonight?
And we literally sitting at a table, breaking the social distancing policy in the middle of COVID because we're full of hubris. Us people who have the balls to get behind microphones and put our faces out here for all of you people to see. I handed him a beer to taste it. I was like, oh, you should taste this beer. And he tasted it. He goes, oh, it's delicious. Took another sip.
No,
and
it was Moosehead Lager.
And he handed it back to me. And I drank it. And then not even 24 hours later, Nate texts me and goes, hey, man, I'm real sorry, but I have COVID. And, you should and I had started to develop like a nasal thing. And I was like, oh, it's probably nothing.
What he's not really telling you is we did make out after the show. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But yeah, he'll blame the sip of beer.
This is what I love. I'm forever tied to Nate Geary because Nate Geary gave me COVID.
I think we have our DNA strains are.
Or as RFK would say, our DNA is linked forever.
So all of this is a lot to say. Like, there's a lot of shitty ideas floating around out there, and Nate has to do a lot of work on the radio. I know because I once called into the radio station, and Nate flat out said, he goes, I don't know if this is a mistake or not, but I'm going to put Drew on the air. And it was after the Cincinnati Bengals game. And I said, hey, Nate, I'm going to toss you a softball that you can vamp on so you don't have to take any more of these callers because holy shit. WGR callers might be the worst people. Like, this should be a profiling mechanism for people that we just like put in a leather bag and drown in the river. Like a burlap sack and just throw them in.
I think they're
You got to put it on the call screener.
Because I think they're all great.
You got to put it on the call screener. They got to know.
I bully
what's
the
a
call
bad
screener. I'm not gonna lie, I did bully the call screener.
I do
that
have a
night.
favorite caller, and like favorite in like that way where it's not really a favorite, but like it's a favorite. You know, it's Mark and Tonawanda, because every time when I fill in for Jeremy or when I'm with Jeremy, you can guarantee Mark and Tonawanda's calling. Mark and Tonawanda calls in, and the first thing he says, guys, you know, we don't agree politically on just about anything. But, you know, the Bills, they got some ideas, you know, like, and it'll just go into his thing. And he wants every time that he calls in, he really wants Jeremy and I to know that we don't agree with him politically. And it's like, I know, Mark.
Chris D'Amato in the comments, kind of an elite RFK impression.
I
agree. I do have a pretty good RFK impression.
Yeah, I do have a pretty, I've actually tested out.
Nope, wrong one. Wrong one. Drew's grabbing the wrong one.
Is this the one?
Yes, that's the one.
It's like a child.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
a wooden
petulant child.
That's Woodinville single barrel that I got at Supermarket Liquors in Niagara Falls.
Yes.
Have you guys thought about just like really turning this into like more of a bourbon podcast where everyone
it's
just gets
coming.
shit-faced drunk and
Just trust me, it's coming.
What's going to end up happening is we're going to remove the table, and then we're going to set up in like that corner with two nice leather bound chairs, and I'm going to get some nice side table furniture, and we're just gonna
you could use a nice small fire pit in the middle, like one of those indoor ones.
Yes.
A solo stove inside.
Yeah. Here's the thing,
Hilarious.
though. I'm pretty sure this 116 proof could cure measles. So
Is it good?
Lauren
very
Oubre,
good, yeah.
Lauren Oubre, WGR is the most economically efficient form of therapy to remind yourself you're not in that bad of shape. Just listen to the callers. You feel better
I
about
thought you were
yourself every
talking
time.
about you could see me. I mean,
Now, you want to talk about bad ideas? Let's talk about bad draft ideas, okay? Drafting Shamar Stewart in any way, shape, or form. I've seen Bills fans be like, well, he could, because this, and I kind of alluded to it before we went on this weird off-ramp that tends to happen when you drink as much as we drink. The idea being, GMs have a very different evaluation of players, and they have a very different view of this talent pool than even the best prognosticators who try to build draft guides and try to do the draft preview stuff. And so in that way, when you do the mock drafts and you say, well, this is my big board, and then you go, oh my God, what a shock. This player got drafted. Jahmyr Gibbs got drafted in the top 15 picks. And you go, well, it's really not, because all it takes is one GM to fall in love with that player. And that guy's a professional, quote unquote. Now, Mike Mayock, he made a mockery of the GM job.
he was a great draft analyst, but man, when it was time to actually make picks, that guy could not draft.
And the idea is that guy you assume knows more than you. Or at least his ass is on the line. So when he makes that pick, you have to assume he's done more due diligence than you. The layperson, drunk in a basement, screaming into a microphone.
Even I know that Gruden had the call over Mayock. Mayock was just GM in writing.
But here's what I'll say about Shamar Stewart. And this is why I want to talk about responsible drafting. Philosophically, Shamar Stewart should not be a first-round pick. And here's why. I don't give a shit about all of your athleticism. I don't care about all of the ways where, oh, your RAS score and your 3-cone for a guy your height and size and length and your vertical. And they could have him do the fucking long jump for all I care. What I know about Shamar Stewart is that you are a player who you're undisciplined. You watch him punch that offensive lineman in the balls when he's frustrated against Ole Miss. That's a real thing.
Richie Incognito's done worse.
And what that but what that tells me is
Yeah, he
that
blocked us on Twitter.
Did he?
Yeah.
somehow we're too
Got
much for
arrested
him.
at his dad's funeral.
He tried to cut a head off a corpse. I mean, that's the thing. But hey. So I guess allegedly.
Allegedly.
So here's what's crazy about Shamar Stewart. Shamar Stewart is not a good pass rusher on paper. He's not a good pass rusher on film. And yet, because of athleticism, some team out there will convince themselves that I can take this block of clay and I can mold it. Well, I'll tell you how that works. Remember Tremaine Edmonds?
Yeah, fantastic player.
So Tremaine Edmonds was drafted, and yet Roquan Smith was a top 5 pick in that draft. And that's because Roquan Smith but he didn't have Tremaine Edmonds' size, rare physicality, all of these traits. But
True, he was no Teddy Bruschi.
But you know what he had? He had football between the ears. And so he was immediately a more impactful linebacker than Tremaine Edmonds was. Tremaine Edmonds was this block of clay player who the Bills decided we can mold him and we can make him a thing. And he did. They did make him a thing right before he hit free agency. And at that point, they looked at their linebacker room and said, hey, you know who we'd rather keep? Matt Milano for $41 million. And we're going to let Tremaine Edmonds go to the market and get whatever he can get. Shamar Stewart is the same fucking player. He's Tremaine Edmonds at edge. That's what he is. This is a guy who he is, when you talk about raw, you're irresponsible as a GM. If you like, I'm tired of hearing this thing of like, well, you just draft a freak athlete and you hope you can groom him. Because now that I've watched it play out with my own 2 eyes multiple times, what I see is that if you do groom him into a star pass rusher, you know what happens? By the time he's really good at it, you now have to pay him. And you've wasted the upside of that rookie contract if you're in a window like the Buffalo Bills.
There's not too many guys that just walk off the bus that are going to be A+ pass rushers. I mean, not
Adolphus Washington off the bus starter.
That's a good point. I hadn't considered Dolph.
Fucking Doug Whaley.
The Dolph.
Oh, Doug Whaley.
Ohio State, baby, right? Was it Ohio State, Adolphus Washington?
I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
he just took a gun to a water park, and then his career was over.
I mean, you take one gun to a water park these days, you know? Everyone's so sensitive.
Wet bullets don't fire properly.
Yeah, right.
Don't bring a gun to a water park. It's like bringing a spoon to a knife fight.
It's like bringing a mouthpiece to the gear house, you know? There's no use for it here.
Slam. I love it. So with that in mind, Shamar Stewart, not only for the Buffalo Bills, but just any team in general, this is called opportunity cost. You will kill your team drafting a guy like Shamar Stewart and trying to, hey, we can work him into something. Sure. And I just watched it play
Can't
out
wait
with
for this
Tremaine
kid to be
Edmonds.
a fucking 10-time All-Pro.
And I can't be, you're right. I am the kiss of death. So I guarantee you he'll be an assassin. But what I'm telling you is it's a terrible idea to take a guy who is all projection and no production and then say, well, I can make it work. And then what happens is maybe you do. Here's the worst part.
Such common practice, Drew. It's the most common practice in NFL personnel departments.
Maybe you do make it work. And that's the worst case scenario because now you have to gamble that what you saw in his final year is who he's going to be. We just recorded the other night, last night, a linebacker centric draft preview show.
Let me guess, he really likes Jihad.
With
We did talk about him.
I had some riffs about that, but we talked to EJ Snyder, who's a Bears fan, about what happened to Tremaine Edmonds after he got to town, and he goes, "Well, it's weird because we signed him as a free agent."
TJ Edwards too,
and TJ Edwards is outplaying Tremaine Edmonds every single week, and it's a problem. And this is what happens with these guys who you go, wait, he's a block of clay and I can mold him. And then he's going to hit the market by the time he's been molded, quote unquote. Yeah, his ceiling, he never really got there, right? From a draft, like you talk about this, when you draft prognosticate, ceiling matters to you. You care about that. You said that to me earlier tonight during our wide receiver show with Schofield. The problem is some players don't ever hit that ceiling, but they tease you with the ability to get there. And it costs you resources in order to retain that. I would rather just go get a guy who at least I know your
Greg
floor
Rousseau?
is here.
Like Greg Rousseau.
But I'm not going to lie to you. I would rather have, if I had to flirt with both of them.
Because he had 13 and a half sacks his last year at Miami. And you would think he was ready off the bus, and he hasn't had a double-digit sack season yet.
No. And so if you were to give me this freak athlete and you go, well, I can make him that star pass rusher. Can you? Like, give me an example of when it worked.
A
Guy with no production who it worked for.
I don't know. You're putting me on the spot. I mean, I didn't know I was coming on this podcast to get put on the spot to name.
My point is,
I know.
I think it's a bad idea. Now, I'm the worst.
The Bills drafted AJ Epinesa at like 300 pounds, and they are like, we think you could be really great at 260.
Terrible idea. And I hated AJ Epinesa, but you know who I liked better was J.K. Dobbins. How's that gone?
Couple ACLs and Achilles later.
Terrible. I am a factory of bad opinions.
You're not good at this. It's fine. We can't all be good at everything, you know?
And so that's why I love talking about this in this way, because it's like, hey, here's a thing that I hate. Here's a thing that I see, and I go, well, if you are the Buffalo Bills and you're in a Super Bowl window, the worst thing you could do is take a piece of premium draft capital at a time when, let's say we just stand pat at pick 30. And let's say GMs are smarter than a lot of the people doing mock drafts. And Shamar Stewart falls to the late 20s. And I know there will be people calling WGR to complain to you that the Bills weren't more aggressive and going to get that freak athlete at pass rusher. And then they take that pick and they take Trey Amos. Or they take that pick and they decide, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a D tackle who I know is a surefire. This is a safe pick because he's going to be productive for my team. Where would you rather be? What conversation would you rather be having, I guess? Like, hey, I'm really pissed the team didn't swing for the fences. Or, hey, they traded up and they took this freak athlete. And now we just have to hope and pray.
This is not the trade-up draft. Unless you're trading up for Travis Hunter.
So is that also
trade-up draft?
So then can we also call trading up in this draft
trade down draft
a bad idea?
It's the trade down draft.
This is for all the people who are like, oh, the Bills should just trade back up into round 3.
Well, listen, I'll say this: if I wouldn't mind them trading up to round 3 because they got a ton of fifths, they got a ton of sixths. I could be sold on to trading up in the 3rd round. I think that if you're going to move up 1 or 2 spots, 3 spots, like they've done in the past, because it's like, hey, their run on corners has happened. And now I'm either getting Hairston from Kentucky or Amos from Ole Miss or Ravel from East Carolina. And instead of that, I'm now and let's say all those guys are off the board because there's a run on them. I think the interesting part about this draft is if there ends up being more wide receivers that go before 30 than we think, and let's say it's a Luther Burden or it's a I mean, that probably is really the only, maybe the kid Higgins from Iowa State, maybe one of these guys sneaked their way into the 1st round before 30. But to me, is there going to be a 3rd receiver in the 1st round before 30? And will there be a 3rd or a 4th quarterback before the Bills at 30? Because then the Bills, to me, could be in a position if, let's say Jackson Dart goes in the mid-teens or something, or the Rams take Jackson Dart. And now you're the Giants and you're like, or you're Pittsburgh and you're saying, well, now the Giants are sitting in the position and Jalen Milroe could go off the board. I'm not comfortable waiting and hoping if I'm the Steelers, we still haven't figured our quarterback situation. We're going to trade up and get Jalen Milroe. The Bills can move back. See, like that to me is a situation where that's the board starting to play in your direction. And listen, I mean, it's no secret. I really like the Notre Dame guys, and both of these defensive backs I like a lot. I think Brandon Morrison is a fantastic fit schematically for what Brandon Beane does. He can play man, he can play zone. So like for me, if I think there are enough players at both defensive tackle and cornerback for you to get a player that's very similar. It's just going to be what you ultimately prefer. And to me, I would really like to see them get long at corner. Like I'd like to see long arms, 6'2", 6'3", 205, 210 pounds, somebody that can play a little press man, but somebody that's going to really step off the bus and immediately be able to play at a high level in zone in the NFL, that quarters guy. the cover 6 guy, those guys that are on the outside that you can leave on a zone island and have help over the top. Like Amos from Ole Miss is that guy to me. Ravel from East Carolina to me is that guy. Harrison from Kentucky. Those 3 are 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", respectively, and are all long. And I think like if you end up in a position where 2 of those 3 guys are gone at 30 and you're up to 27 and you're worried someone else is going to scoop them up either in that pick or trade up in front of you to do it, I think you can convince yourself to do that, because the other position of need, defensive tackle, you feel like you're going to have starters into the second and the third round. So like, it's really going to be what position group takes the run. Is it defensive tackle or is it cornerback? And a guy like, I don't know. I think you hate a guy.
Teddy Brandana, how insane would it be if we just got Milrose back up? I'd be so pissed. That might be the worst idea of this draft.
Yeah, it's a bad idea because, like, he's not gonna last into an area where anyone here would feel comfortable taking a quarterback because,
Also, Allen would immediately call. If the Bills were to take Jalen Milroe, it meant that they probably did it with the 30th pick. And if they did that, I'm pretty sure Josh Allen would have himself like a ayahuasca moment. Like he would have to call Brandon Beane at home and be like, "What the fuck did you just do?" Or do you think he has that in them? Or do you think Allen would just be like, "Fine, come to camp. I'll just embarrass you"? And if that's the case, should we do it just to see what him going like?
No.
What like a fully psychotic Josh Allen looks like?
No. This is a guy talking about not wanting to waste a draft pick on a guy with traits. But he goes, maybe if they got Jalen Milroe,
see, this
they would push Josh into making it. I could have to,
I'm trying to simulate what the WGR caller is going to be like on draft night for you.
Listen, it would have been better to have Josh out there at linebacker than AJ Klein. He could have covered Kelsey better.
These are the conversations you get paid to have.
Nate, Drew, and I have a Seagram's bet for the draft. And
linebacker?
Nope. I am in the belief that it would be a good idea to get out of James Cook and trade him. So
I don't think you could get enough for him to make it worth my time.
So this is a thing. When we talk about worst ideas, trying to trade James Cook at the draft. One of the things we've heard is Cincinnati. When you talk about Hendrickson, the thing that keeps coming up is we want a first-round pick plus. Well, if the Bills are dead set on getting better at edge rusher and they think that truly is the thing that's going to unlock them, if they say, hey, if we got a bookend style thing where we're going to go.
You're going long drink?
I'm going to go long drink, and it's weird because I'm mixing it with bourbon, and I'm probably going to regret all of this.
Beer, bourbon, and a canned gin cocktail.
You guys have no idea the shit I do in my private time. You think this is what...
Nobody wants to know either.
So with that said, you've got a team that could decide... I hate this. I hate draft prognostication, point blank and period. But if they decided we want a proven commodity instead of going fishing in the draft for pass rush improvement, we got Joey Bosa, but we know we can't trust him, and he's got to be given the Von Miller role. He's going to take about 25% of snaps, mostly on passing downs, and we're going to conserve him because we think he got worn down during the rushing portions of games. And he's got a lot of soft tissue injuries. We don't want to expose him to we want him to be attacking the offensive line, not the other way around. You could try to engineer a trade for Trey Hendrickson. The problem is, 1, your cap. 2, even if you could make the cap work, they want a first plus. But I could see a world.
That's a lot of white defensive ends.
I could see
too many white defensive ends.
And I could see a world where they go, hey, you know what we could do is just give James Cook. They don't have a future at running back right now. Like Chase Brown might be a thing, maybe, but here's a guy who
he's good.
Wait.
So you want to give
very
the
good.
Bengals?
Listen, I have him in Dynasty, in our Dynasty league
your
that
best
we share.
Big play threat you want to send to your rival.
If I can get their best pass rusher, maybe.
Nate, we did that last year in the form of a draft pick, and the Chiefs took Xavier Worthy.
Did we? We did have a post draft last year.
We
right?
did.
Where I freaked out about hanging up the fucking fucking phone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
So
Yeah, they should hang in the phone, hang it up.
So I guess the idea is, if you could trade James Cook on draft day, I don't know, are you making it happen? If it sweetens the...
No. There's 2 teams I'm not trading with. Cincinnati, well, 3. I don't think I would trade with Baltimore either, but we're kind of daddy. So, you know what? Fuck it. I'd trade with Baltimore, but no, I wouldn't. I'm not trading with Cincinnati. I'm not trading with Kansas City. I'm done with that. Doesn't matter the position. You could tell me, hey, we're getting Chris Jones back, and I would say they've put a grenade on his leg, and he's a Trojan horse. There's no way that, you know, like...
You know, it's funny. McDermott would respect it from a distance. He'd be like, hell yeah.
I always respected the Romans.
He would quietly just whisper, hell yeah. What a move. I think that there's a lot of terrible ideas floating around up there, and I like that we're finally talking about them. Trading James Cook at the draft, not a good idea. Drafting
not a good
Shamar Stewart, not a good idea.
If he goes to 30, you're trying to tell me you wouldn't do that at 30.
I would have a really hard time getting
I
there.
wouldn't.
No, okay. So are you willing to put a Seagrams?
On what? What could be the bet?
You see, now this is where I'd go down a rabbit hole of a hypothetical. I just want to bet. See, now I'm mad.
If the Bills are at 30 and he is still on the board,
Do the Bills take him?
2 full Seagrams cases, yes.
Okay.
He does not fall past the Bills
Mark.
if he gets to 30.
Noted. I just want it on there for
2 full,
posterity.
12 Seagrams.
Now there's a part of me that really hopes that somehow before there's a bong.
Do you wanna
gas
have one
mask
now?
Thing. Do you want to have one now? We have a case of them in there.
I'm not, I know what you have.
How about this? Drafting a wide receiver in the top 60. To me, bad form.
Top 62?
I top 62. So are you saying trade back? And
No, I'm saying they have 3 picks in the top 62. So you're
I know. So
you're saying are you saying it's a bad idea to use one of your top 3 picks on a wide receiver?
yes.
No, I don't think it's a bad idea at all.
Replay that bet to me so I can write it down.
The bet is if Stewart falls to 30, the Bills take him. If he's there at 30, the Bills take him. If they don't and he's there, I drink 2 6-packs.
There we go. All I'm looking for is.
But I'd like them to
volume
be
bets.
hand-picked 6-packs, so I'll go to consumers and grab them because I can't do the variety pack.
I like the volume bet. I just like. Yeah,
I think I would need 6 Jamaican Me Crazies and
I'm Kevin Malone in The Office when he goes, "If anybody gives you 10,001 odds, you take it. You just take that bet.
No, you take that bet.
You take that bet.
But
immediately.
what happens if they're there and then the Bills take them? Take them.
Then you get to pick all the 6-packs and I drink them in succession in front of you, right here.
Does it have to be Seagrams?
Yeah, it has to be.
To be Seagrams?
We need to
I mean, what other poison would you be trying?
Look at
to
this.
Like Four Loko or something.
we need to have a whole show this offseason devoted to clearing this off.
Oh yeah.
Because look, like Drew, 4 different kickers on IR in 2024.
You have some drinking to do.
Yeah. Nate Geary, Baker Mayfield.
I repented those.
We still have this. Jake Fromm will never throw.
I was so close to being right on that, though. He walked in and threw 1, right? He has 1. He has 1, right? That should be a wash.
See,
That should be a wash.
Terrible ideas. Even people who tell you they're smart about this stuff,
I think that should be a wash.
we're all bad.
I'm
At
pretty sure Fromm has 1 career touchdown pass. If that's the case, then you call that a push. That's a push.
it. Lauren, does consumers also sell insulin shots for the diabetic shock you'll experience from that many Seagrams? What do you think? Jake
It's 1
Fromm?
touchdown.
1 touchdown.
That's a push. That's a fucking push.
I don't call it a push. I call it one night you're going to come over here and we're going to get diabetes together.
I said it had
We're
to be
going to do a Seagram
over
show.
under 1.5.
And it's literally going to be both of us. The thumbnail for the YouTube show is going to be us dressed as pirates. And it's going to be bad. We're going to come down here. We're going to get diabetes together. The same way you gave me COVID, I'm going to give you diabetes. And
You know, I'd like to bring something back really quick for a moment because I know you guys have Bruce coming up. Is it what show do you guys have, Bruce?
Sunday,
Yeah, we're going to record with him on Sunday.
What time?
7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Do you guys want to dial me in and we'll do the first 5 minutes and I'll text Bruce after this and we'll come up with a karaoke song that we're going to do?
Dude, I'll crush you. I'll crush you personally and Bruce. Ooh, you don't even know.
There's no way anything elegant comes out of that mouth. No,
I look like an extra.
I have been wanting to do a duet with Bruce, and I feel like we talked about this 2 years ago.
Karaoke challenge.
You and Chris versus.
I have
Bruce
no
and
singing ability.
I took Chris just because I was like, I think I can still win even with the dead weight over here. Boom.
I'm interested, so I'll text Bruce and see if he's got a song in mind.
Let's figure this out. Guys, we're going to make some wild shit happen over here on the podcast. Drafting a wide receiver in the top 60, I feel like it's a terrible idea. Here's why. Matthew Golden, Luther Burden. I don't like great. They're talent, sure. But this wide receiver class seems to be the antithesis of last year's wide receiver class. And so if what you're trying to convince me of is this idea that like, oh no, last year we didn't get in on the wide receiver train like everybody was screaming for. Well, they did.
They took one of the 33rd pick. Might as well be a first round pick.
What's funny is all I think of when I hear that is the 33rd team, which shouldn't exist. Isn't it like, who are those idiots over there? It's Rick Spielman and who?
Thomas Dimitrov.
No, and there's one other guy. There's fuck.
Is it that fucking dickhead?
He used to he got fired from the Dolphins. He got fired from
Tannenbaum.
Tannenbaum.
He sucks.
Rosenberger.
Talk about bad. Talk about idiots.
And yet somehow they're a respectable. The
Tannenbaum
Jets
is good
hired that team to find their new head coach and GM.
Wow.
Are we scared of them? So with that said, I look at this and I go, this class is not what last year's was. And if you use your most premium piece of draft capital in order to obtain a player in that vein, then why wouldn't you have just done more last year to do that? Like, if you really felt like you had that need and I need another wide receiver, why didn't you just get a better wide receiver last year?
Why didn't they just draft like Xavier Worthy?
100%. You can even make that argument. Why didn't you just
I could make that argument. In fact, I did before the draft to just fucking take the really fast guy.
When you take a look at the rest of this draft class and the way it lays out in terms of depth at the defensive tackle position, the cornerback position, all of these spots, you would be spitting in the face of the entire draft if you just used pick 30 and said, hey, Luther Burden, you're my guy.
It would if Ted McMillan or Matthew Golden are there at 30. I think you should not spend the entire 12 minutes.
Yeah, 12 minutes for a pick.
I think you should run up to there and take the wide receiver at 30.
Okay.
If one of those two guys are there,
And what if they're not?
then you don't.
Then you don't come anywhere near this. You don't talk about wide receiver. You just go, okay.
But what if like the conversation had been around Isaiah Bond? Like, obviously, maybe that's not a thing now because he has turned himself into the authorities. But like,
He's represented by Mark Schofield.
he is, luckily, so he's surefire to get out of whatever happened.
They're going to execute him. That's the problem. Like, if Mark Schofield's representing him, they're probably going to kill him. They're going to give him the chair.
Hopefully they don't ask in court. The defense doesn't, or the prosecution doesn't ask Mark to draw a smash concept on the board.
I guess I just look at this and I say to myself, you had an opportunity last year.
You just hate wide receivers.
Well, you passed on it in a really good class of wide receivers.
This is a very good class. It's just it doesn't have the top. It's probably deeper than last year's draft class. So then I guess that makes your opinion about like you don't draft one in the top 62. But I don't know. I think there's going to be a case for a lot of guys. Would you feel crazy? Let me ask you this question. Would it be worse to take a safety in the top 30? If you're at 30, would it be bad?
So if the pick is Nick Emanuari, want to talk about this? Safety? You just drafted a second round safety last year.
Okay.
How many picks do you need to sink into the safety position?
They've used one pick in McDermott's era on a safety.
And that's my
what
point.
What safeties have they picked?
Don't do it twice.
Jaquan Johnson?
How many other teams
Hamlin?
How many other teams who have been successful have sank multiple high round picks
The Ravens.
into the safety position? Okay, and they lost to the Buffalo Bills in a postseason game for
Ravens
the
are pretty
second
good.
time.
Ravens
They're
are
pretty
pretty good.
good. They're
Ravens are
pretty good.
Ravens are pretty good.
They're pretty good,
Their defense is hella good.
and they've been to just.
Would you take Kyle Hamilton right now?
I would.
You know what? They drafted Kyle Hamilton when they had 2 starting safeties. They had Marcus Williams and Tony Jefferson, maybe, and then they drafted the best freaking safety in the league because it's the same thing you do with wide receiver. To me, it's
I'm
more so wide
fencing
receiver
over
than
here
safety.
and I'm slow.
What I would like to do with wide receiver is, you know what happened when Minnesota had Chris Carter, and forgive me because I was barely alive when this happened, but who was the other receiver Minnesota had with Chris Carter that was fucking really good? Then they drafted Randy Moss. No, but they didn't need a wide receiver, but they took one because it's a position you should always take opportunities or shots at to go get. And I feel the same way about corner and safety. And this idea that McDermott is a defensive back whisperer it's not good enough for me because I think about when this defense was at its best, what were the 2 most important pieces on the defense?
Safety.
The 2 safeties. Yeah. And even if you feel you drafted one last year, Bishop might be really good this year, hopefully. But if you had a chance to get better than Taylor Rapp, wouldn't you do it? Who's, by the way, if you want to talk about they've got no future at running back, they've got no future at safety because Rapp's on a 1-year deal, an expiring deal. DeMar Hamlin's on a 1-year deal, and the other kid they got from Washington's on a 1-year deal. They have one guy on the roster at safety in 2026. And you're telling me that safety is not a Xavier Watts or the kid from South Carolina or Malachi Starks from Georgia? Like, you're trying to tell me that if they're there, that would be a bad pick? No.
I love that I just saw spit fly from his mouth, and I love that you're in a fervor about this because you're not wrong. As you're saying it, you're selling me on the concept that if you were to go out and get a guy like a Kyle Hamilton, guess what? It changes the complexion of your entire defense. And so in that way, if that's how you're going to get over this hump, this thing that we can't do, everyone goes, oh, well,
lots
they
of
can't.
defensive players.
And so in that way, if they decide, hey, Nick Manawari is the guy that we love there, or Starks is the player that Malachi Starks is the guy that we love, a safety as a first-round pick would chap a lot of asses.
It might.
I don't think that's a bad idea.
I don't think it's a bad idea.
Here's the worst part, Chris. I started with that as a terrible concept, and now look where I am.
I walked him right off of it. I would never do it, but I convinced him that you could do it. I wouldn't want them to take a safety at 30, but I did a damn good job convincing you that they should.
So we've talked about bad ideas.
Because I'll convince people of things I don't believe in all the time. I do it for a living.
100%.
I'm in sales, for Christ's sake. Would I buy my product? Absolutely not. I'm just kidding.
No, all you know who you remind me of is Robert California, where he goes, look, would you put he goes, there's no brick and mortar store here. Our products are cheap. They look tawdy. Like, you can't put them in front of people. They can't touch them with their
fucking lizard king.
It's one of my favorite exchanges in the entire series where he goes, you don't even know my real name. I'm the fucking lizard king. And Andy just shrugs and walks into David Wallace's house.
Debutante. What's he call him? What's he call Andy? Debutante.
Yes.
He calls him a debutante, but something else. Just an absolute. just the most hardcore diss you could tell another man.
Kyle Krabs and Jake Reed, Ryan Tonkin. There he is. He was helping out. See, when you were like, oh, the people. I don't know, the people. This is why I like our listeners. They're helpful folks. Now, what I'll say is this. I think tonight we talked about a lot of ideas we think are terrible. You talked me into one that it turns out might be pretty good.
Yeah.
Isn't that the NFL draft? Where you go, hey, I fucking have all my preconceived notions of what this thing can and should be, and I'm mad it didn't go my way. I've been living this nightmare for a decade. Where you go, Ryan Mallett is going to change the face of the NFL. And all he does is make the police blotter for reasons we're not going to talk about here.
Joe Fryer. Good to know. Nate likes him long. I do. I've always said this.
Nate,
I've always said this.
Nate, I like how he says
oil
snake because he's from Portugal.
Oh.
He
Oh, it's Hugo?
I love
Oh, yeah.
Hugo, I love you. It's snake oil salesman. And I love you for trying to take the shot. You get to see how you as a fan can have your own preconceived notions, but very quickly be talked into ideas. That's the entire point of this exercise. I'm happy we arrived here, where we got to outline how I think an idea is ridiculous. And then you talk about it and I go, oh shit, well, that actually makes sense. This is all of us, guys. We're all here. We're all just along for the ride. And what you have to hope is you don't have a Mike Mayock at the helm who's going to call Clelin Ferrell at pick 4 when he's not even sitting in the draft chair.
In fairness, Henry Ruggs was looking pretty good. Then he killed a dog.
Clelin Ferrell wasn't sitting in this, like when ESPN went to him as the number 4 overall pick, Clelin Ferrell was not sitting in front of the TV in the chair because he didn't think he was going number 4 overall.
All right, let me ask you this question. If the Bills ended up with Derek Harmon, Oregon, 30.
Oh my God. Whoa, stop.
Wait.
Stop,
Let me give you this 3 run.
Because I'm already more erect
You're in.
than what might be legal in some states.
Okay, so you have Harmon, 30. The kid from East Carolina, Ravel, at 56. Trey Harris, 62. Wide receiver, Ole Miss.
Chris, I'm gonna need a look.
Does the Trey Harris pick ruin the goodness of the Harmon pick?
Nope.
Or did I just give you the best 3 combo you could have asked for?
I'm not gonna lie. And there again, I think this is where we as NFL fans get mollified by the big thing, right? If you told me you got Derek Harmon, you could almost fire half the draft into the sun. I don't give a shit.
I really like Trey Harris a lot. That's a player that like I look at and I say that's a guy I'm good with in the second round, and I'd feel like probably a more explosive version of Keon Coleman. Like that's the guy that I kind of want. So, and Ravel is probably my draft crush. Like
Joe Fryer, I knew it might be legal.
Might be legal. Well, trust me, everything in this show is borderline legal, anyways.
Yeah, I mean we're over here. We're all a problem, folks. We're all a problem, but
In a different way.
Your point remains.
So if that was your top 3, if those are the 3 picks to start the draft, you'd be down with that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead and channel a small segment that I did on the pre-draft show last year. So this show, rewind a year ago. What did I say? Do you remember? Does anyone remember what I said?
No.
I said it doesn't matter, short of the Bills taking a punter, whoever they take, you'll hate that guy going into April 27th or whatever it is. The Bills will take him and you'll go, that has been my guy all along. You'll start deleting tweets. You'll go find tweets from 2023 and delete them, talking shit about that player. We are all going to sell ourselves on whoever they pick. If it's Derek Carman, awesome. He's great. If it's Stewart, Drew is going to eat so much crow because in this first game, in his first preseason game at home,
whoa. Do we all want COVID again?
I don't think I can get it again, to be honest.
I'm going to eat a crow and then kiss you on the mouth, and that's how this ends.
We got some different mRNAs now. Whatever.
Let's hear it one more
having
time,
said-
the RFK. Let's hear the RFK one more time.
It's giving you autism. It's the needles, they're dirty needles that the government's giving you. My wife Sharon, she plays on that one show, Curb Your Enthusiasm.
God, I love the fact that we
Jihad Campbell would be a great pick for the Bills because Sean McDermott's experience with Jihad.
I love that we get to do this show and there's no one who can stop us. We just get to throw it out on the internet. And you're all just victims of the nonsense we create down here. Oh, Nate, I fucking love you.
Yeah, well, listen, I didn't know RFK was coming out tonight, but Have you ever heard of the RFK ordering Taco Bell?
No.
Yeah.
Well, how about RFK ordering Mighty Taco?
Well, no, it'd be Taco Bell because he would.
What is Baja Blast? Is it the same as Maha Blast?
All right. Holy shit.
Oh, Christ.
Nate, this is why I love getting here, because you don't take yourself so seriously that you allow it to bog down what is a great time.
And this show is not sponsored by Odyssey.
It's
Right,
not
right,
sponsored by
right.
Odyssey.
Or the measles?
You are right. We will eventually find our way to whatever they pick. No matter where we land, we all talk ourselves into it. I remember talking myself into who was what would they call him? 12 gauge coming out of Ohio State.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in the fourth round, we were like, "Hey,
Cardale Jones.
Cardale Jones
12 gauge.
could be a thing." No, he wasn't.
Beat that poor kid in the hospital by 90 on Madden.
That was the high water mark for him. He never did anything football related that meant anything again.
No, that's right. Except on Madden.
Nate, these are always fun shows. I love that we get to do these, and I love that there's some smarmy dickheads out there who would call this a quote unquote thought exercise. They go, "Oh, look, you just."
Not a lot of thought went into this show.
No thought went into this. We just literally started pouring drinks, got behind microphones. We said, "Hey, we did a little bit of prep. Let's go."
And started doing RFK impressions.
And now we're here. What? You get COVID more than once? Hugo Carmona has had it 4 times.
I think I've had it 3
Here's a fun thing. I've only had COVID once.
from me.
Hugo, during one of his COVID bouts, did more push-ups than Chris could do. Chris pulled a muscle in his neck at push-up 12. And Hugo
I popped an AC joint
and
last time I tried to do push-ups.
and Hugo heard it on the podcast and was like, "I'm not going to lie to you. In the throes of COVID, I could still do 25s."
Zero thought, this is my favorite comment of the one so far. Zero thought, very little exercise.
Guys, we are not the most fit podcast in the world. We are the pettiest, hardest drinking. And I think that we've accomplished the mission. We've had a good time. This is all a lot of fun. But for tonight, we got to get the hell out of here.
But wait, for anyone that's hanging out, if you want to stick around in the live feed, we're going to do a stock podcast next.
Oh, no.
We're going to talk about tariffs. Chris has a ton of great takes about which stocks you should be investing in.
Let me roll up my sleeves and tell you everything I know about Bitcoin. It's almost nothing, and at the same time, I still sound as smart as the people who claim they do know.
Oh yes, that's right. Don't listen. Don't
Buy the dip.
Don't offend a BTE guy. You know,
Wait, I'm gonna trigger the crowd.
you're gonna trigger some people in the crowd.
Ooh. Guys, I love you. Thanks for coming out tonight, but we gotta get the hell out of here. I'm Drew Gear. That's Chris Kruger. This is Nabe Geary.